Jean Alesi, the French Sicilian driver who is often noted as a racing driver's favourite driver, Alesi loved cars from the year dot. His father, running a bodywork repair shop, meant he was always around cars, and his father's amateur rally driving and hill climbing experience sure helped. Young Alesi was more into the sport of rallying than circuit racing, and really started to find his feet in the Renault 5 Championship. But speed called his name, and he moved into the French Formula 3 Championship on a shoestring budget. He would win the title in '87, and this helped him move on to the more advanced and faster Formula 3000. His first season was not good, mainly due to Team Orica imploding, but still managed to find the podium in an absolutely stacked field. 1989 would see Alesi in the Jordan, and a competitive car at last, and this would lead to a championship. Okay, tied with Eric Comas, but winning with 3 victories to 2. His performance was noted, and with sponsor issues meaning the Marlboro-backed Michele Alboreto could not race for the now Camel-sponsored Team Tyrrell, the team needed a replacement driver. They looked at who was leading the Formula 3000 Championship, and it so happened it was Alesi, and it was decided he would be making his debut in France at the Paul Ricard circuit. In the race, young Alesi had run as high as second, but when the flag fell, he finished in 4th, scoring 3 points on debut and made the paddock take note. He was unable to complete the full season as he was still fighting for his F3000 title, so a deal was made for him to race when he could. At round 12 in Italy, he would secure a 5th position, and next time out, driving the car in Spain, having missed Portugal, he would come home in 4th. Again, this meant Alesi was the highest scoring Tyrrell driver for 1989, despite only having 8 starts that season, scoring 8 points in total, half of the team's points for the season finish on 16 points. This would secure him a full-time drive for next season, and this led us to the Phoenix Grand Prix of 1990 even. Honestly, a race that deserves a standalone video, but in short, rain made qualifying chaotic. Alesi starting fourth, who proceeded to say, "I like the idea of leading," into turn 1, which he did, leading for 34 laps. The V8 Ford Tyrrell was no match for the factory V10 Hondas of the McLarens, in anyone else's hands maybe, but this was Alesi, who battled Senna for a good few laps, retaking the lead on the Brazilian superstar and cementing his place in history. Alesi would gain his first podium though, and come home in 2nd place, a feat he would replicate in Monaco of that year. However, the rest of 1990 was dire, with no more points finishes after the Monaco Grand Prix. A highlight came at Monza, where he would somehow qualify 5th place, just under a second slower than pole sitter Senna. Jean would have a lightning start, getting up to 3rd ahead of the Ferrari of Prost, but a heavy accident would cause for a restart to the race. On the restart, he did it again, only to make a mistake on lap 5, trying to catch and pass the McLaren of Berger, and ended his race in the barriers. This got the attention of Frank Williams, who decided he needed this young French driver, so signed Alesi, and well, we know how well Williams did in the early 90s, so this must be the start of a glorious... No, Jean, don't give in to your Sicilian blood. Don't go for the Italian... Oh, no. Okay, so Williams wanted Senna, so they delayed signing Alesi. This angered Alesi, who then signed for a French-Italian super team partnered by Prost in a Ferrari. This may have been a mistake, although remember the 1990 Ferrari had 6 wins and almost beat the mythical MP45B for a championship. The Ferrari 642 would be just as good, if not better, than the... Okay, yeah, I'm going to stop. It was a tractor. You think Ferrari has been bad in recent memory, yet the early 90s makes this era look like paradise. The 91 Ferrari was... it wasn't very reliable, which was its biggest weak point. It did have pace, but it was not easy to get that out of the car. Alesi did manage to get points in every race he finished that year. Okay, technically he did finish 12th in Phoenix, but he retired 5 laps to go to the end. His first podium would come at Monaco with a strong 3rd place, with 2 more in Germany and Portugal, ending the season in 7th with 21 points, 13 points behind teammate Prost, who had left the team for the final race, meaning Jean would be the new number 1 driver for 1992. Ivan Capelli would join Jean for 92 in the F92A, a car that was impressively worse than last year's. Alesi would once more score points in every race he finished. Unfortunately, that was only 6 races out of 16, with a 3rd place in Spain, an impressive drive in the rain, along with another trip to the bottom step of the podium in Canada, which was also wet, surprisingly, helping to hide the shortcomings of the car. But the season would end with Alesi in 7th once more with only 18 points. 1993 will be better, surely it can't be worse. You have to imagine he was looking at those Williams cars which had dominated with somewhat of a glum expression. 1993 would see a return to the team of Gerhard Berger. The F93A would once more struggle with reliability, mainly due to its active suspension systems. The early races were not good, with 4 retirements and an 8th in the first 5 races, causing him to look at ending his time with the team. However, once more Alesi would have a podium in Monaco, helping improve his mood. The car, although unreliable, was starting to show speed. Still not near the Williams, but speed nonetheless. And this came good in Italy, with him taking his best finish for the team to date with a solid 2nd place, although 40 seconds behind the Williams of Hill. As 93 ended, Jean finished with 16 points, 6th place, 4 points more than season teammate Gerhard Berger. 1994 saw the Ferrari 412 roll out onto the grid, and this car was not terrible. It was actually quickish and kind of reliable. That's strange for a Ferrari. However, Benetton and Williams both had rocket ships. The season started strong for once, at least for the 27, when Alesi took home a 3rd place finish in the Brazilian Grand Prix. However, a few days later, testing at Mugello, Jean would have a huge off, hitting the rear of the car into the barriers at around 260 km per hour. This led to a major back injury, taking him out of the next few races, being replaced by super stud Nicola Larini, a seasoned midfield driver who never really got the chance to show his speed. At round 3 in Imola, he would have his best finish and claim a podium with 2nd place, although that weekend, it was no time to celebrate, unfortunately, for Larini. Alesi would see the podium 3 more times in 1994, as well as taking his maiden pole position in front of the adoring masses of the Tifosi at Monza. Although his gearbox only lasted 15 laps in the race, come season's end he would finish 5th, 24 points, although teammate Berger had much more luck, with the car finishing 3rd with 41 points in total. 1995 would see a much improved Ferrari 412 T2. With new regulations, the V12 had gone down to a 3 litre, along with many safety improvements to hopefully never see a repeat of the horrors of 1994. Out of the box, the car had much improved speed and reliability. Well, compared to the last few cars, it was still a bit of a diva and would either finish in the points or end up on the side of the track. The first 3 races went well, with both cars scoring and Alesi taking 2 2nd places in a row in Argentina and Imola. But come Spain, the car would only last 25 laps before the engine let go. Monaco would see a fastest lap, and while running 2nd, he would have to take avoiding a spinning Brundle. This incident would take Alesi out of the race, sadly. Round 6 of the season would see the F1 circus heading to Canada at the Circuit de Gilles Villeneuve. Quali saw Jean line up in 5th behind teammate Berger. The day of the race came and Jean would be getting something to celebrate early before the race. It was his 31st birthday. What was his wish, you wonder? I think it was rain, and for once a birthday wish actually was granted, with rain coming down and belting the track before the race started. However, things started to dry up a little before the checkered flag would drop, leaving it greasy but not wet. Schumacher scampered away in the lead, Coulthard would lose it on lap 2, and Hill would suffer some Renault issues. This would promote Alesi up the order into second place. The race looked set with Schumacher taking victory until lap 57. The Benetton had to make a pit stop to change its steering wheel. This promoted Jean into the lead, where he would stay. The fans and Alesi were both over the moon with the victory. The 27 Ferrari, which had so famously been driven by Canada's hero Gilles Villeneuve, would cross the line first, taking victory. On the cool-down lap, he would stall the engine while celebrating, and this would lead to him having to hitch a lift home on top of Schumacher's Benetton. Some great images from this race. Jean Alesi became a Grand Prix winner, a perfect birthday gift. The 95 season would carry on, with Alesi scoring points for every finish. Sadly, with 6 DNFs, the Ferrari reliability struck once more. He would taste the champagne with 2 more second places for the season at the British and European races, and would finish his final season for Ferrari in 5th place with 42 points, 1 place ahead of teammate Berger. The pair would wrap up their Ferrari stint, getting the team up to 3rd place, but for 1996 the pair would be heading off to previous season's winners, Benetton. 96 would see a decent season for Jean. The previous year's Benetton was nigh unbeatable, but for 96 the car had suffered with more mechanical issues, possibly due to losing pretty much all of their staff to Ferrari. This was not helped by a few driver errors from both drivers. But saying that, Alesi did manage 8 podium finishes and was unlucky not to win in Monaco after a suspension failure. Come the season's end, he would find himself in 4th with 47 points, Benetton just missing out on 2nd place by 2 points over Ferrari, finishing with a strong 98 points for the season. 1997 would see some tension in the team, as Flavio had told Jean this was his final chance to get good results for the season. This was not helped with him ignoring a team radio and running out of fuel in Australia, depriving the team of the podium. It was a shaky start to the season up to round 6 in Spain, where he got a 3rd place, following up in Canada with a 2nd place. He would equal this result 3 more times in Britain, Italy and Luxembourg, as well as getting a pole position at Monza. These results were enough to get him 4th overall with 36 points, equal to Coulthard, who was ahead on victories. The team came home 3rd with 67 points, but this was not enough to see a new contract, so for 98 he would be heading off to Sauber. 98 would be a pretty average season, up to the chaos at the Belgian Grand Prix. Alesi would make it to the finish, unlike many others, in 3rd place, sharing the podium with 2 Jordans for the team's very first win. It's kind of cool how these two are linked. Alesi's first win came with the 2 Jordans of Barrichello and Irvine sharing his podium. Jordan's first win came with Alesi sharing their podium. But we'll talk more on this race a little bit later, as we'll come to that. Jean would finish 11th with only 9 points, the team 6th with just 10 points. 1999 would be much worse. The season for Sauber and Alesi with only 2 points scored for the whole stint. With a 6th place in Imola and Japan, the team managed 5 points in total for that season. 2000 would be the first pointless season of his career. Alesi was very critical of the car and its underpowered Peugeot engine. This did not help things, and tension in the team grew. 2000 would see a mid-season swap between Prost and Jordan, with Heinz-Harald Frentzen moving to the French team and Jean Alesi moving to Jordan. Despite the fact Prost had an improved car, so much so it was scoring points, Jean scoring 4 points to that date. At the US Grand Prix, Jean Alesi would reach his 200th race start, and in Japan, for his 201st race start, it would be his last, with a lap 5 retirement after making contact with Kimi Räikkönen. Jean Alesi decided to hang up his helmet. And so ended the F1 career of Jean Alesi. Despite having an offer from Arrows for 2002, he decided it was time to move on. He would be back in an F1 car for '02, but only as a test and development driver for McLaren. He would go on to race in DTM, taking 5 wins, and race in sports cars, and even start at the Indy 500, although less said about that the better. Jean would be a popular member of the paddock to this day and give us one of the best historic Monaco races to this date. As you can probably tell, I'm a massive Jean Alesi fan, and well, the same goes for the next driver on the list as well, so be prepared for another long one.